BSL take two. Bit of a long video. I'm not going to pretend I memorized 20 minutes of talking, so if I look to the side, it's because I'm referencing my notes. This video is for the people that have years of racing, even when nothing's wrong right now. 3 phases of that racing, where it shows up as body pain, that you can't relax on good days, where there's nothing to stress you out, and passing that tension on to your kid. And this is one state, this bracing state, showing up in different places. It is an open loop. So stay to the end. I'll tell you what to do next, whether this is a fit, and how to close that loop and get out of that bracing state. So a little backstory on me. I had a hip injury at 16 years old, 6 months of physical therapy. It was basically just being stretched, waiting and hoping. Then that was the start of finding out I need something entirely new, not someone new, but a new system entirely for healing. I needed a whole other paradigm of recovery entirely. The other thing that happened was I had an autoimmune condition. I have an autoimmune condition called eczema, which resulted in being hospitalized for 3 days, where only one dermatologist at one of the top hospitals in the world could help. But I was only discharged with a steroid cream and a good luck. Flares would cover my wrists, my elbows, my neck, sometimes my legs. I'd be dealing with the chronic anxiety of needing to be ER ready at a moment's notice. These 2 things, as well as a third problem I'll tell you here in a minute, all contributed to seeking out a methodology and developing a methodology I call tree breathing. Because now the flares are rare and contained to one finger on this spot of my pinky at most, and healing the body and regulating the nervous system were never 2 separate problems. It was something I found out more and more over the course of piecing this together. The last piece of this bracing problem was the sleep apnea I developed in my early 20s. I'd wake up with dry mouth and wake up from my own snoring, the sound of my own snoring. I'd wake up more tired than I was going to sleep. At the time it felt minor, but it wasn't. Even though it was my early 20s, I saw this as an early sign of the same dysregulation. And I started to realize I needed to solve the root cause now or suffer the compounding issues later. To top it all off, I wanted to pursue jiu-jitsu as a hobby. I greatly enjoyed it, especially for my autistic nervous system. It was very beneficial to regulate myself and to express myself physically and creatively. But what came from that was also a chronic pain and tightness everywhere. It felt like I was feeding anxiety instead of relieving it often enough. I would become afraid to push my body. I would go to bed and feel my heartbeat through my whole body at night. And some nights, I would have panic attacks, pushing my sleeplessness into hours of insomnia, up to 4 a.m. even some nights. This is the bracing state I'm describing to you right now, from the inside, not from a diagram. I know what it's like to think this is just who you are, that you're broken, that your nervous system doesn't respond to the world well, and it isn't true. You're probably closer to that realization than you think. So here's the problem. Almost everyone who comes to you, is in a low-grade anxiety and fear state, and it's mistaken for personality. It is physical, not just emotional. This state changes breathing, it changes pressure management, it changes how you move, and chronic pain is just the loudest symptom. It's not the cause. You can fix it without changing the state, but then it just resurfaces elsewhere. If you can't stand and breathe without effort, if your body just feels wrong, It's because no one ever taught you how to feel good in your own body or breathe well. So, one of the biggest points I want to make is that managing does not equal leaving this state. You can get good at looking regulated, but you don't actually become regulated. So the cost of this, to make it more real, is presence with the people you love, real rest versus rest you only get by exhausting yourself physically and mentally. Like my own jiu-jitsu training was this, training multiple times a week just to be tired enough to sleep. And for the parents, kids learning regulation happens from observing you and your regulation, from learning from your nervous system and behavior, not your words. This was true of my own parents and true of what I continuously observe, both in clients and the general population. Personally, I believe if my mother had these tools to regulate and train her body and breath, I believe she would have been spared a lot of real and meaningful suffering in her life. And this is part of why I'm building this for parents specifically, because I want to give parents and kids the experience I didn't have, a regulated parent with capacity to be present. So, to summarize, you're not broken, you're just never shown how to leave the state of fear, anxiety, instead of managing it. Just to spend a few minutes on the mechanism so you can get the anatomy of what's happening. There are 4 structures that form this core canister or core container in your body. It is a pressure canister, a container, a hydraulic container. The diaphragm is the roof, the transverse abdominals are the front and the sides, the pelvic floor is the bottom, and the multifidus is the back. So this is your pressure canister. This is your seat and center of stability for the rest of your body to anchor to. There'll be a visual up here somewhere that you can see. I'll leave it up there for a few seconds so you can get a good idea of what that looks like. But this isn't just something structural. This is wired into your nervous system. Regulating pressure and creating stability is a safety signal to the body. A dysregulated system defaults to bracing as a baseline. So hip, jaw, back pain, all different signs of the same stability failure. The solution is tree breathing. Pretend you're a tree and build your body to be connected, rooted, anchored, resourced in a way that makes you feel like your state has changed from fearful and anxious to anchored and resourced. This is not a Frankenstein methodology of a million interventions. One thing that's worked for you and many others. This is one thing that's worked for me and many others. This is not thinking your way to calm. It is retraining the physical system directly, so it becomes embodied, not just commanded. I'm going to give a 2-minute cut of me demonstrating this technique. You can try it yourself. I recommend trying it on an empty stomach. I recommend trying it 3 times in order to get the state change reliably. And I recommend taking a moment to notice what's changed before we move on. Before I move on to examples of what has this done for people as living proof. So I recommend pausing the video after you finish the 3 bouts. And those bouts end when you cannot squeeze and build any more pressure, in case I don't mention in the video. As for the proof, I'll start with Sumi. She had migraines, incontinence, pelvic floor issues, a 10 centimeter diastasis recti gap, and she reported feeling closed by session 5. So not better, but feeling closed. This came along with the migraines improving, the pelvic floor feeling stronger, the jaw and sleep all improving from not waking up, snoring, breathing through her mouth. And I'll throw up a visual of her posture over here. Conventionally, each of these would need its own separate intervention. But this process gets to the root. The body organizes around pressure, however you get there. Physical results are downstream of the nervous system no longer needing the brace. I'll show another posture example, this time with scoliosis. Marcelli had a clear lumbar curve straightening, so lumbar scoliosis, and a reduced pain with all those associated with consistent practice. I'll show her here. Honestly, these are two very dedicated clients. Sumi is still training with me. Marcelli has finished her sessions and has continued on her own. But here's the more average results. John's results, about 3 months of working together, basically had years-long knee and ankle pain, made worse by CrossFit, and mouth breathing during the day and snoring that kept waking him up. After 3 months of working together, the pain resolved enough to mountain bike and play soccer with his kid without having to worry about his body falling apart. After another 3 months, he was no longer mouth breathing in the day, no longer waking from snoring. This anchored state is accessible, but not yet default. So this is normal, real, on schedule, not a miracle. Imagine if he kept training another 3-6 months. Another couple more examples quickly, just to show you the breadth of the practice. Sid was a competitive Algerian jiu-jitsu practitioner. We trained together for a month. He had neck pain he carried from years of lifting in jiu-jitsu, which was cleared after that month. Yash, another client, stopped needing his inhaler after several months of training. He even lost it, forgot where it was. And we didn't notice until he was 5 months in and he realized he hadn't used it. And these are different bodies, different systems, different symptoms, but the same system underneath. So what comes after? For some people, the pain goes away, but that's only part way through life. Their life is still going. Even after the pain goes away, once you're busy and distracted, some version of it can return. And this is a terrible way to sell my services, but it's the truth. At some point you realize you didn't heal as deeply as you thought, or that healing can go so much deeper. And so I'm going to ask you to do something here. I'm going to ask you to picture life on the other side. Not just pain gone, but a real day, a real version of yourself, acting in the world joyfully. If you can't picture that, that's not failure. It just shows how stuck you are. Not just physically, but mentally. That's what the call is for. Naming the part of you that believes healing is possible, that your body can affect your mind, that there's a better solution than what you've been given. I want to briefly talk about the cost of waiting, because I've done this mistake many times. Every month managing a problem instead of resolving a problem is more practice. In this case, practicing the bracing feeling, feeding the same pattern of fear and anxiety. Bracing long enough stops feeling like a state and starts feeling like an identity. And this isn't abstract. It's another year of your kid learning to brace can be fearful and anxious and melt down by watching you. It's another year of rest that doesn't actually restore you. It's another year of the version of yourself you could picture staying just out of reach. The cost isn't the pain staying the same, it's that the longer it runs, the more it starts to feel like it was never a state at all, just who you are. The belief is the thing that you're waiting to entrench further. Every month you don't act. If there's a kid watching with you, the clock runs for both of you. And I'll be honest, my capacity to train people out of this state is only about 5 to 8 people at a time, maximum 10. Because past that, I can't nurture the relationship that allows for real, lasting, transformative change. So this is the offer. This is about a healthier future for you, your family, your children, not just learning a new technique, period. I have one option is the hardship option. This is a one-time payment, $600. You get 4 sessions, spaced 4 to 5 weeks apart. And this is a one-time. You can't do it again. The point of doing this is that you're fully equipped to continue the process indefinitely, and you can continue with your kid or with someone because you're fully equipped to teach that person, because that is the goal of the 4-week container, is that you learn how to run your own process. You learn how to run your own tree breathing practice. So again, the goal is full independence. You're able to do the process yourself. You're able to teach your child to regulate using the process. And you have a reliable way of reaching an anchored and resourced state on your own. The other option is a transformation option. This one is $6,000. This is for the year. 48 sessions. We meet and we make sure not only do you understand how to do the process, we advance you through a progression that internalizes this anchored and resource state. That not only do you know what to do, how to breathe in that fearful anxiety state, you're able to measure how close you are to embodying anchored and resourced by default. So you're not just tapping into a few minutes of calm with the practice. It's not just head knowledge. Your body is feeling real and measurable change, just like those examples I brought up earlier. Split abs, scoliosis, sleep apnea, asthma, whatever. Something is going to dramatically change. It may take 3 months, it may take 6 months. Depends on how long you've had it, depends on what you're doing now to help it, depends on all these things. But something will dramatically change, and your health will dramatically transform by the end of the year, if you're consistent with the work. The year isn't about the technique taking 12 months to learn. It is about accepting a new identity and overriding a lifetime of fear and anxiety. The physical practice itself is simple, about 15 minutes a day on the calendar. But real life will still bring stress and dysregulating events. The relationship is the bridge back to anchored each time. Watching how you implement and notice progress in ways you couldn't predict alone. Pain resolves as a byproduct, not the main objective. The main objective is being equipped to teach your kid this state, or just have the ability to teach someone else in general, because you've internalized and embodied it so deeply. Neither track is a quick fix. It is for people who are done managing and are ready to resolve a problem. If you're consistent, willing to participate, or are done chasing single symptoms, this is for you. This is not for you if you want a passive intervention. This is a practice. We do this together. I don't do this to you. I don't chase symptoms in isolation. This is whole system training every time. And this is a relationship. If this is not life-giving for both you and I, if we can't meaningfully pursue this anchored resource state, it won't work. You have to be honest about what you think is possible, and I'll be honest about whether the picture you've given me about how your life could be better is real and believable. So no hard feelings if it's not a fit. There are plenty of good symptom-based practitioners out there. And the last thing I'll leave you with to really bring this home is I want you to picture the next 6 months to a year being in the same place and having this same conversation or something like this conversation with another symptom-based practitioner. What would that look like and feel like? And sit in it for a minute. After you've done watching this video, decide if you want that future. Decide if you're ready for a meaningful change, not just a short-term survival strategy. If you decide that is you, that you want a meaningful, lasting, lifelong change, book a call below. You've spent long enough bracing. Whatever you decide after this, even if it's not with me, I hope you actually let yourself picture what's on the other side. Not just less pain, but the version of you that gets to be fully present with the people you love. Let's get you anchored.